Hey guys, I'm your host, Mimi Brown, and you're listening to Becoming Dope. Popular website, the Jasmine Brand, is responsible for breaking some of the biggest stories in the entertainment industry. It's founded by entertainment journalist Jasmine Brand. And today, Jasmine is joining me on Becoming Dope to literally talk about how she became so dope. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I love the intro.
Oh, thank you, girl. Thank you. So I know a little bit about you, but for those who don't, you lived in D.C., you had a corporate job, and you started the site.
Yes.
Take it from there.
I started from the site?
You had the corporate job.
Okay. So I had a corporate job. I wasn't necessarily satisfied, but I was cool. It wasn't anything I didn't want to. I wasn't going to quit my job.
Yeah.
So I started this site. I wanted to write about something that people were intrigued by and like obsessed with. So I kind of was thinking of ideas. At first I was like, oh, I should write about events, like, because I lived in D.C. and it was always events going on. And I was like, oh, well, let me do like pop culture, like celebrity news, because everyone is obsessed with celebrities. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And so I just kind of started it for fun, and it kind of became a whole thing.
So it was a hobby at first.
Absolutely. It never was supposed to be anything like a business. I remember at one point my best friend was like, I can't wait till you can do this full time. And I was like, full time? Like, this is for fun, girl. What you talking about? So my intention was never to do it full time. I liked my 9 to 5. I liked my benefits. I liked vacation time and being paid on the 15th and the 30th. Always been a fan of getting paid on time. And so I never really had interest in like doing something full time like that.
So you never really wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No, I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. My dad's an entrepreneur. He's been an entrepreneur for most of my life. And he would always say, because I was a marketing director at this job or whatever. And so he would always say, like, do you want to go off and do your own thing? Do you want to do like PR on your own? I was like, no, I'm cool. Like, I just never really had that urge. And it just seemed like a lot of stress and very hectic. And it just wasn't something I was necessarily like born to do, I feel like.
Right. So because I know there was a time where your job found out.
Yeah. So it was, at the time, it was just me. I was going to say we. It was just me at the time. So what I would do is I would get up really early, like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I would put content up. I'd go to work. Then I'd go to like Starbucks across the street and like put more content up, go to work. And then so that's how I was populating the site, like in between everything. I would just work crazy hours. I was super obsessed with it. And so the site started to get popular. And I remember I would get all the celebs that would come into Park. So I would get all those interviews. And so, and then I would like break stories about the Redskins and stuff like that. But I remember one particular story, it was like Kim Kardashian. I think she was like posing nude or something like that. Okay. And so I'm not exactly sure how they found out about the site, because it's not anything I was ever talking about or whatever. But that's when they had the conversation with me, like, it's a conflict of interest, because I was like the spokesperson for the company. Like, I was the marketing director. So I had to like talk and, do all that kind of stuff or whatever. So they felt like it was a conflict of interest and essentially told me, like, look, you can't have this site and have this job sort of thing. So that's how that situation started with oh, wait a minute, we have a problem here. So my immediate boss told me about it because the president of the company had a conversation with him about it. And so I knew, like, as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, I'm going to have to leave or whatever. So I had, it was never like, oh, I'm going to quit the site. It was never even in my mind that I was going to quit. No, it was never. Yeah, it was never in my mind. But I remember talking to my dad, who is an entrepreneur, and my dad was like, let them fire you, so you can get unemployment or whatever. And I was like, F that, I'm not going to give them the satisfaction of firing me. I should have let them fire me. No. But I didn't have I never thought like, oh, let me quit the site or maybe like, let me shift like the content or anything like that. Because I've always, and I've said it multiple times, I've always felt like people have these windows of opportunity and I didn't want to miss it. And I also felt like, I could always go back to corporate. I feel like I could always go back to a 9 to 5. And then I just felt like, if I'm going to bet on anybody, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm not going to, so, and I just always have felt like, and I just even hate saying that a lot. I feel like people can't really outwork me. You know what I mean? So like, I just kind of felt like I got this, but I had no plan, because I was never planning to quit.
Right. So you had no plan.
Yeah.
You were like, okay, so I'm quitting my 9 to 5.
Yes.
I have this site.
Yes.
Then what? I mean,
So I think I gave him 2 weeks or something
Okay.
like that or whatever. And I was like looking at my account, like, because I had a regular life. Like I had bills and I had a house. My mother lived in my house. I had an apartment. I had a nice luxury car. I had designer things. I had nice things. And I just had a very luxurious life. I didn't live like an entrepreneur because I wasn't, that's not what
had the 15th and the 30th happening.
Yeah, I've always had a paycheck or whatever. So I was just thinking like, okay, I was like looking at my account, like, how am I going to do this? And so I had a little bit saved up, nothing serious. I had my 401k and I was getting like ads at the time from like a few brands, like I think Grey Goose. Kenny Burns had threw me a few bones. Like so he was helping me. And I had ads already on the site, but it wasn't enough to supplement what I was going to do. But I just kind of figured I would just kind of figure it out.
What year was this? Because I feel like I sort of remember like being at Howard and like reading.
I started the site, I think it's been like 8 or 9 years. So I don't know whenever.
Yeah,
and I think
all coming back to me now.
I think I left my job like around my second or third year, maybe. And so I didn't really have a plan. I was just kind of going to figure it out.
What was the moment where you were like, aha, I think I have something here?
Shoot, probably not so recently.
Really?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I think I've had really cool moments that have happened, but it's never been like, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I felt like little things happened and, and I was like, okay, I feel like I'm in the right place. But I always felt like I was doing the right thing. I just felt like maybe I hadn't planned properly or I hadn't extended myself the way I should or I wasn't focused in the right, but I never really thought that I was doing the wrong thing. I never had that feeling. So maybe that's why that big aha moment that people talk about, maybe that didn't happen because I always kind of felt like I was doing the right thing.
Perfect. So you said 8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
So how has the site grown since the beginning?
In terms of like traffic, it's crazy from when, we started. And then like in terms of like staff, like it was just me. And I think maybe like I got an intern or something like maybe like the second year and I could pay like a little something maybe. And then I think around the third or fourth year is when I met Mahir Fadle. He's my business partner. He co-owns the site with me. And so when I linked up with him, he made it like a business sort of thing. So like he kind of evaluated like what kind of money I was bringing in and how come I was only bringing in this or, what's the staff like? You don't have any infrastructure, like that kind of stuff, like stuff I wasn't concerned about because I didn't start it to have infrastructure or for it to be a business. So in terms of staff, like we've grown tremendously. I think we're at like 11 people now or something like that. Like we're around 11 and then like we do well, thank God, financially. And then traffic is, we're one of the top entertainment sites. And so we thankfully we've been able to break a lot of exclusive stories. We've been mentioned everywhere. And it's just, it's a blessing to still be able to make good money and to break stories and to cover interesting topics. And it's been really cool. But it didn't start that way. I remember like I was cool. So I had my own apartment, but my mom lived in my house or whatever. So I was cool with the concierge lady at my building or whatever. And she was like, so they're about to, what do they call you when they kick you out?
Evict.
Yeah, I was thinking foreclosure. Evict. Yeah, they about to evict you. So you have like, I think she was telling like, because I was like, I got a notice on my door. And I called my mom. I came back from LA because I think I had did BET Awards or something like that. And so I was like, damn, like, because I was thinking like, oh, you have like a month or two or something like that. I don't know. I always just paid my rent on time because I had the money. Right. So I didn't know the rule. I didn't know how the
process.
Yeah. So I and I remember calling my mom and my mom was like, well, you could just move back here or whatever until you get yourself together, whatever.
Is this Nebraska?
No, this is DC.
So,
yeah, it's DC.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but I'm born I was born in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay.
So my family's in DC or whatever. So my mom was like, you can just, you can move back in or whatever, and you just figure it out. And, she was super supportive, whatever. And so I was like, okay. Like, I was trying to think how long I had. So I was cool with the concierge lady. She's like, okay, you got 3 days. You know what I'm saying? So, cause she was like, then they're going to bolt it. You can't get anything out. She's like, or they might put everything out. So, she's like, let me double check. So she was really cool about it. So I moved all my stuff out. And then I remember when they would come, she was like, they come. And I was like, I'm already out, girl. So, but I remember just having those moments. And I still felt like I was doing the right thing. I think, I wasn't really scared because it was just me.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have a child, a husband, a boyfriend. Like, I didn't have anybody to be worried about, So, yeah, but it was very challenging at the beginning, but it was just part of it,
Yeah, the ups and downs. And I want to get to that. But before, I wanted to, because I feel like people consider your site a blog or you a blogger, but I think it's more than that. What do you say to people who are like, limiting what because I feel like that limits what you do.
Yeah, actually. And I kind of feel like that too. I feel like in my mind, and everyone can call their site or blog or whatever they want to call it, like but in my mind a blog is more like a party of one, or you don't check you're not as credible. Like, we have a full staff of writers, correspondents, we reach out for comment, we have attorneys, we have payroll, and we break big stories. We have court report. Like, we have a small machine, like a small newsroom. So for me, it's an entertainment site. I don't really write on the site because I feel like a blog is kind of like, for me, I always thought it was just like me and kind of writing in my tone. It's like objective. We try to be neutral. So for me, I consider what we have as an entertainment site. But I don't, everybody has their own term of what they like or whatever. But that for me, and then, I am a journalist. Yeah. I do TV. I do hosting, in addition to being an entrepreneur or whatever. So that's what works for me and what I prefer. But, people can call their thing whatever they want to call their thing. And it's all good because I'm cool with the blog thing for other people too. So,
yeah. Speaking of that, so how do you deal with comparisons or competition? Is there like this need to be first? Or what do you feel about that need that people have nowadays to be first?
Yeah, I feel like everyone kind of deals with trying to be first. I think we have always tried to be like right, and which you can't always be first if you're going to be right. But I mean, it's news. It constantly is moving. It's always going. It's impossible to be first all the time because it's just, it just never ends. And that's one of the things about this job. I always like, damn, I should have picked something else. Because at least you have stop and start. You know what I mean? Like, you got sweeps. Or if you're in fashion, you have like seasons. You know what I mean? But I feel like it's, I work in news, and it just, you can't always be first. And we always have a conversation where I say, like, it's more important that we get it right.
Yeah.
And we can dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
But I don't want them to be late. But, sometimes you have to wait. You have to take a beat to see what else is going to happen next.
I totally agree. I feel like that too. Like, working in news is 24/7. It never stops.
Yeah.
As soon as something happens, you're on call no matter what time it is.
Yeah.
And you just have to be ready.
Yeah.
So I can't even imagine just running my own site and then being in charge of that. Like, I know with me, when they call me in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh my God.
And which is why I didn't really have a life, because I was kind of connected at the hip with this laptop and what's going on or whatever. But now, thankfully, we have an editor and writers and stuff like that. So it's not as taxing on me, but it's still a lot because I like to know what's going on because I have to have conversations and go on and talk stuff or whatever. So, but it's not as bad, but it's very taxing. It's a lot. It really is a lot.
It is. I know it is.
Yeah.
Do you feel there's a bias between like Black entertainment sites and then like white media or mainstream? Like, for an example, like they'll have a story. It could be any story. And the one that comes to mind is Kobe. And a site like TMZ will break it, and then the world will run with it.
Right.
If Jasmine Brand had the story first, they might do a little more digging. Do you think there's a bias when telling?
Yeah, I feel like it's always been like that with how Black media is treated versus white media. White media, it's something I've noticed. It's something that Mahir noticed early on, and it's it's kind of here's my thing. Yeah. You don't have to think that the Jasmine Brand is credible. And so if you feel like that's not credible for you, and you wouldn't necessarily rely on the information, that's fine. But there are other Black outlets I feel like are comparable to like a TMZ. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's always strange why And I think TMZ has been around for a long time, so I think they are really good at breaking stories, and sometimes they get it wrong, and everyone can't be right all the time.
Right.
But I do think in terms of how Black media treat it across the board is more disheartening than the fact that people don't take our stories or people do more digging. And if they want to do more digging, that's fine. It doesn't bother me. But I just think in general there is this stigma with Black media. And like I've said before, like there's this conversation about how, how diversity is so important in terms of like what we see on the screen. But like there's not a really conversation about how Black media is treated across the board on so many different angles.
So many different angles. How about red carpet placement?
Yeah. I mean, I that's something that I didn't notice initially. It's something Mahir noticed when I used to do the carpets. He like, what is this? Like, why are we down here? Why are they putting us here? Why are we only getting 30 seconds? And at first, I was so accustomed to it that I didn't even notice it. And so that's not even like the biggest thing to me.
What would you consider the biggest?
I wouldn't say this is the biggest thing, but it just in terms of like how Black talent don't break their stories with Black outlets. And they'll go to white outlets to break a story, and that audience is not even checking for them or doesn't have the traffic or audience to reflect why they would even care. And they'll repost like a story from a people, but say, I don't know, another Black outlet, that has more traffic than people, they won't give them any shine. And then like at the beginning of their career, they're begging for us to support them or to post their content, and then they get to another level, and then they are just like, won't even stop for you on the carpet. They don't spend like ad dollars with Black media. And it'd be one thing if we didn't have numbers and we didn't have traffic and we weren't reputable. And it's not. And my thing is not even. It's not even like so much us. I'm just saying you can use another Black outlet.
No, in general.
Yeah. So it's just bizarre to me because Black folk want to talk about how they're not treated fairly and they're not represented, and they do a disservice to Black media on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
It's just like weird, like when I see like big stars breaking stories, they'll have their own outlet. They'll have their own media company and they will break it at a white outlet. And it's like, I would be screaming if I worked at their company. Like, are you kidding me?
Absolutely. You see it all the time. The wedding photos on people, the baby first photos on people. Like you see
and
it
the thing
all
is
the
like,
time.
no one is going there to read about Nene Lee. Like people are not going to regular people are not going to Deadline to learn about a new show that's coming back. They're not. And that's a trade and that's fine. But I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. Like if we have comparable traffic or if we have your audience, why would you go to another outlet? It's just bizarre to me. And so I didn't notice those things. Mahir kind of brought it to my attention and he used to always be upset about it. And I was just like, I was so accustomed to it. Mahir, do you want to say anything? Are you good?
I'm good. That's a whole nother show.
Okay.
We'll do all day. me had a conversation.
We did.
I think you should just chime in.
I just think you should say something because
Yeah.
you said this so good. I think you should just share. Let's share.
We had a long conversation about this.
You have really strong feelings about this.
Honestly, it started before the whole Black media situation.
Okay.
When I first brought the whole thing to Jasmine, it was really about publicists, managers, agents. Because when we started, I think we got to LA maybe 7 years ago or so.
Okay.
I've noticed there was a shift. Like a lot of shows weren't out. A lot of music wasn't as popular as it is right now.
Right.
With the artists, but then I seen that they started getting popular.
Uh-huh.
They're changing their agents. They're changing their publicists. They're changing their managers. And I'm like, what's going on? I started making phone calls to people. I'm like, hey, I don't like what's going on. Mahir, you tripping. Mahir, you crazy. When I first started talking to Jasmine like, Mahir, everybody thinks I was tripping. I don't know what it is.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, no, this is not, I don't like the trend where it's going. I'm like, because I'm calling people like, hey, you dealing with so-and-so? Oh, no, man. He left me or she left me for this person. I'm like, what's going on? You was rocking with her for like 5 years or
So
rocking
you're
with her for 10
saying
years.
when Black people get to a certain level,
their whole team
they
just disappear.
ditch their whole team.
And that's why I told you LeBron James with Rich Paul, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he took him along. He found him at the airport selling jerseys. Next thing you know, took him to CAA, put him in his team, was a co-agent, co-manager, whatever situation. Now he got his own agency.
Right.
But no one else is doing that in the industry. Everyone's dropping. It's come to a point that I guess white is right type situation, you know? And I I always feel like I'm a man of consistency.
Yeah.
And I've told you this before. If you're not complaining that Oscar is so white or the Grammys is doing us wrong and all this situation, then you're fine. No one owes no one anything. But if you're complaining that we're missing all these elements and situations that we're not getting recognized in this platform and that platform, it's the celebrity's fault. Because everything is its own. We're our own ecosystem. So we each one got to help everyone. So basically, if there are more black agents that's up at the top tier, managers, media outlets, those are the voting people. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people that are going to actually, propel you to wherever you need to go. And then that's where it started from. And then it started trickling down to media. And I'm like, Jasmine, this is crazy. So we need to start shifting. We're not going to cover this. We're not going to cover that. Forget this celebrity. Forget this event. And I was heated when I'll tell you some of these stories.
You did tell them, though, because they don't know.
When I went to the Image Awards and NAACP, I kid you not, they had all the black outlet in between bushes in the back.
It's crazy.
So it literally, it went, the red carpet went like this. And then there was some steps next to the door inside. There was some bushes.
This was at it was in Pasadena. I
yes.
remember that. I know
Yes.
exactly the outlet. Okay.
Yeah. It's crazy. And I'm thinking to myself, with events like that, why don't you have black PR companies working it? And even if you're to the point that you're like, you know what, I don't know if they can handle this, you have to. No, hold on. I got to check legally. I'm making sure I'm going. You end up hiring someone that you think can handle it. Have subcontractors.
Yeah.
There's so many PR agencies that can manage it on the sub level, and there's no reason if you're my manager and I worked with you for like 10 years and I feel like you just took me from A to M, you can't take me to Z and I gotta go hire somebody else. I'll take you on as a co-manager, but like, hey, I'm the asset right now. We're too busy treating ourselves as liabilities and not knowing that we are the assets. We continuously devalue ourselves. But like, hey, you want me as a client? You gotta take me. It doesn't have to be 50-50. You know what I'm saying? It could be 80-20.
Right.
Now I'm giving you, I guess, the resources for you to take someone to A to Z. And now you can go on and just do your own thing. Same way as what's his name? Rich Paul. I always want to say Paul Rich. Rich Paul is doing now.
Yeah.
But we lack that. And it's kind of disheartening.
Yeah.
And then it bothers me. I get better with it now. I'm like, look, now we get to the point that we evaluate, like, hey, what are you doing for us?
Yeah.
So I'm always to the point, like, I try to teach the staff member, like, yo, we need our things now. Like, don't pay us later. We need ads now. We need to get placement, all this. Because now it's, you got to worry about yourself because everyone is not worrying about us.
Yeah.
So.
No, I love that. And I love how you took a stand. Like, this is what we're doing. This is what we're not going to do.
And you'll see it on Instagram where celebrities will like stories on different black outlets.
Yeah.
But then won't post their stories on. But they'll come on a mainstream outlet 2 days later. Now they post it up. Don't make no sense. And they say that, oh, you know what? Black media always posting negative stuff. The only reason why you know that is because you go to the black outlets.
Huh. How would you know if you weren't?
Yeah, if you went to the other outlets, the mainstream outlets, you will see they post negative stories too. We actually post more positive stories about black celebrities than mainstream does.
I feel like the Jasmine Brand, there's a lot of positivity.
Yeah, but no one remembers that.
Yeah.
Everybody always remembers the negative.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disheartening, but it's whatever. It's to the point that I'm like, it doesn't make no sense. Yeah. And everybody wonders why we're not excelling. And to the whole point of the Oscars and the Grammys, especially with the Grammys, if you're winning for Best Rap Album, who cares? You're not competing with the rest. You might as well just get the BET Awards or Source Awards. It's the same thing. You're in the same category. Right. So why are you holding that to another level?
Why are you holding the Grammys up here?
Now, if you're saying you're going Best Male Artist or Best Album, okay, now you're competing with everyone. But you're in the
same category with everybody else.
So what's the difference? Why?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, I mean, they don't hear you, though.
They don't hear you, though. Okay, wait. So now that I have you here, I want you to tell me a little bit about, because I know Jasmine started, the Jasmine Brand. You came in, what, like year 3-ish?
Yeah, in the midway point of year 3, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were like, what, let's do this, let's do that. Tell me how you kind of helped.
I always wanted a media company in my platform, in my portfolio. I was actually working on another deal. In the process, I met Jasmine her first year. Because one of her friends that I knew, she wanted to meet someone I was with. So it was something like the publication I was going to try to invest in. So we kind of met that way. Then I stayed in contact with her publicist. And she was inviting me to her 1-year anniversary, her second. And I'm like, okay, I started tracking because nothing was coming out with this other deal. And then we didn't see eye to eye numbers. Then I'm like, I want something. Then I started, she used to tell me like, yeah, I get up at 4 o'clock and start working. I work at lunch. I'm like, yeah, she lying. I said, and I'm always up early. So I said, let me test her. So I'll text her like 4 o'clock in the morning. Say, hey, how you doing? She's like, oh, I'm out here writing. I was like, oh, she's real. Oh, okay. She's real. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'll talk, just see how it goes. Then I'm noticing like more people are picking up our stories. I'm like, okay, this might be something good. Because I always feel like if I'm going to invest in something, I invest in the person.
Yes.
Because you can always get a product. Products don't mean nothing. It's really the person. Because you can never change a person. I can always change a product.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like
so product process, you can always help and change that. A person you can't deal. If you can't, no one can work with you, you can't work with you. That's why some of the stars that should be elevated are not elevating because they're hard to deal with and hard to work with. It's the person. And I just love the person. I'm like, you know what? I can work with, even if the Jasmine Brand don't work out, I can do something else with her. Her work ethic is to another level. Like she said, no one can outwork her. Yeah, she works all the time. Sometimes I'd be like, not trying to give her credit. Because I try to make her work harder.
I don't think I've ever heard you say
Yeah, she's like,
Ever.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, great. I'm like, okay, I like this. Okay, now let's see how we can work. I'm like, so, okay, how are you working out your ads? All this. She's like, I don't know. I'm like, what you mean you don't know? I'm like, this doesn't make no sense. Like, she was a weird system. She's like, okay, this is my bills. This is my car. This is how much I need to make this month.
Oh, no, you had the mic. Because I heard you say that you basically just did everything by your bills. As long as your bills were covered.
That's how I would charge everybody.
Yeah.
I love it.
Whatever my rent and my car note was, my insurance. Oh, sorry, whatever my rent, car note, I would just add on my bills and I would just charge that.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, no, we need to change that. And then she was already, I guess, thinking about coming to LA. I'm like, you need to get out of DC. I mean, you outgrown DC. You either got to go New York, Atlanta, or LA. LA just make more sense.
Yeah.
And then she was already going back and forth. I'm like, yo, you might as well just stay. She's like, yeah, I'm staying. I was like, okay, good.
Yeah.
And then this way, like, now we got to build a team around you. Okay, we got to get editors, we got to get writers, because it's kind of tough for 1 or 2 people to do this.
Yeah.
Especially you got the East Coast, West Coast, stuff going 24/7. So, and then we started building, get some team, getting on people on the carpet. She loved doing the carpet. I'm like, Jazz, you got to stop doing the carpet. No, you beyond that. What you mean? I'm like, no, we're gonna try building the brand up, And then, so we just start sending people out the carpet and just grow it that way, And then now we're going to try to go into other things like, original content, just different things for the site, just expand it a little bit.
Just expanding
Yeah.
the Jasmine Brand basically is the next level
Yes.
for the Jasmine Brand. Okay. Love that.
Switch up.
Yeah. So you named it the Jasmine Brand, and you said something like, had you known it was going to be the Jasmine Brand, you would have probably not named it after yourself.
100% would not have named it after myself. No, I would have done, because I just wasn't thinking long term.
Yeah.
I was thinking fun. I didn't even have an idea of how long I would do it. I just wasn't thinking strategically. So I would have named it something else that didn't have my name. I don't know, but I don't want to say it because I might use it.
You might use it later.
But I had some really cool names, and I just wasn't thinking like, And I think at the time there was like only a few sites that had their own name, like maybe like Nicole Bitchie or Sandra Rose, like really like back in the day sites. I feel like they used to use their name, so maybe that was kind of like standard or whatever. But I just wasn't thinking long term.
Yeah.
And I didn't think one day it'll be a business. I'll have a partner, we'll have a staff, and it won't be me. Because otherwise, I would have named it something else completely.
Yeah.
And it's kind of limiting. I feel like. So.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
Listen, I feel like people didn't know that you were a person.
You're right.
I don't think that people realize that Jasmine Brand is actually a person.
And people have said that to me on a number of occasions, and I'm always wondering, what were you thinking? What were you thinking?
I just thought it was the name, like Jasmine Brand. You know what I mean? Like Jasmine is a brand. You know what I mean? Like But you
didn't think it was a person?
I didn't think it was a person.
Okay.
Like I had no clue, honestly, that it was a person.
That is so crazy that you thought that. And I'm always thinking, and the thing is, you're not crazy because a whole bunch of people think that. And I'm always thinking, like, y'all are crazy. Like,
yeah, no.
Really?
I had no clue. I feel like I knew Sandra Rose. I feel like I knew Nicole Bitchie was a person. The Jasmine Brand, I just thought was.
And then also, like, I've always, for the most part, been behind the scenes, quiet, low key, very private. So it's not like I was like, hey, y'all, like, it's me. I got my own site. What's up? Like, hey, yeah, me. I've never been that girl. So I think I wasn't even out there for people to know, like, oh, she's this. And because I remember when I came to LA, Mahir and I would be out together and I would introduce myself. They'd be like, oh, you're a person?
See? Yeah.
No, people say it all the time. I was like, y'all are crazy. Like, what is called the Jasmine Brand? But they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know it was actually a person. But yeah, I think because I kind of always been behind the scenes that people just didn't know. Or like people don't know I can talk, like, because they don't know. Like, they have no idea. So.
They don't know you can talk either.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You're a person and you can talk.
And I can speak. I speak English, folks. But, I think I felt like when I first started doing like TV and radio, people were surprised because I think there was a stigma that like, oh, she's a blogger and they don't know how to talk. They just sit behind their laptop and like talk smack about people and they don't know how to, and everybody can't do what I do and I can't do what everybody else can do. But people just didn't know. So that was like a thing that people kind of boxed me in on as well.
I could see that.
Yeah.
What would you say some of the biggest stories that you guys, you're always getting exclusives. I see that all the time. But what are some of the biggest stories you would say the Jasmine Brand has broke? You
know what? I get asked this all the time and I never know. Mahir, do you know? And the thing is, I should be prepared to, some of the bigger stories. Sierra and Future, that back and forth court situation, we broke that. Some Lil Wayne lawsuits, we broke that. Jesse Williams divorcing his wife from Grey's Anatomy, we broke that. I was trying to think of the high traffic ones. Do you remember any of them? I'm not trying, and this is not a humble brag, but we break a lot of stories.
No, I humble brag it out because you do.
We do, and so I should be prepared for this question, but I never am. And the thing is, like, I don't really look at the numbers like that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, where's this traffic from? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, like, and we break stories on a regular basis. It's not something that we do like a few times a month, so it's hard to gauge. But it is something I'm going to sit down and because I don't know. It's just if we've been around for so long.
Are there ever any stories that you're like, this doesn't sound right to me, so I'm not running with it? Or have you built up your sources and so they know what's credible, what's not credible? How does that work?
So in terms of like sources and like where we are breaking exclusives based off a source, it's usually about the relationship that we have with them. Our writers have their own sources, and for the most part, we usually get it right. Yeah. In terms of my sources, if there's anyone that's ever given me any wrong information, I just don't use them again because like I can't trust them. You know what I mean? But like our sources have been like the same consistent bunch that we've had for a long time, and like we'll get new people that'll start, and we just have to verify it. And in certain things, I know our editor she was like, let's just sit this one out, and then we'll see if it comes out. We'll know that they're good because it's just kind of really hard. If it's not a lawsuit, if it's not court documents, it's really hard to tell. Like because it's like it has to be built on relationship and trust. And like I've had sources that have never given me a wrong story. You know what I mean? Even if it looks like it's wrong, it was true. It was happening, and then they decided it was over. You know what I mean? Or like it decided the show couldn't move. They axed the show. Somebody quit. It's been rare. Our sources is like it's where it's good. Like, you know what I mean? But there are times when we do sit on things and our editor will be like, let's just sit this one out, or like, let's let somebody else scoop us on this. It's cool. Like, because it's just too much of especially things that are sensitive. Like, I don't like us breaking like deaths and stuff like that. Like, we knew about people that had passed, and, we'll just be like, just let them have it and let them break it. It's just something that sometimes it's not worth and it could be a headache too. A lot of stories that we get, if it's too much of a headache and if it's going to be too much of a legal situation, like it's not even worth this fee we're going to have to pay to duke it out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I used to work for Us Weekly for about, 9 years. And in our conference calls, celebrities would call and give stories on themselves. That's something that happens regularly at the Jasmine Brand.
It does happen. And people, what's frustrating to me is that regular people don't know that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the thing is, we've had celebrities give us the story, and then when it ran, like lie and say that it wasn't true. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like 100%. And I'm calling Mahir like, yo, can you believe she just sat up there and lied? You know, like, lie. And then people in the comments like, we told y'all she wasn't da-da-da. I'm like, she literally, I'm in my mind like screaming like, she literally gave us this story. Like, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, but we can't say. We're not going to get on there and be like, well, she lying. Here's the receipts. Like, that's just not how we operate. Other people do that. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. But I'm glad somebody's exposing them as liars. But we're not going to roll like that. You can say whatever you want to say about us. Like, we're going to be credible. We're not going to reveal our sources. We're not going to tell where we got information from. But they definitely are still feeding everybody. I don't want to say everybody. They're definitely still feeding us stories. Yeah. And their people are. They're like their camp and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So what is, because there's someone out there who's listening who wants to follow in your footsteps. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about a little bit of advice. What would you say? Like, what 2 things would you give someone who wants to aspire to run their own mini newsroom?
Girl, don't do it. No. Listen, I don't want to say don't do it. But deep and down inside out, it's a lot. You have to, first of all, you need to evaluate the reasons behind why you would like to do something like this, because it is very time consuming. It is very taxing in terms of like your emotions and your well-being. It could be very taxing. So I would say that first you need to evaluate if this is something that you really want to commit to. But I would, and if that you decided this is what you want to do, I would just really say like it's all about putting in the work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think a lot of times, not within just this field, but other fields, people don't want to put in the work. Mm-hmm. Like they see people on social media or people out and about and they see their success or what they think is success and they want to get to that like next week or like in a year. And maybe you can do that, but it usually doesn't work like that. So I want to say you really have to put in the work and put in the work consistently. And you know, it's one of these, you know, this job is one of these jobs that's really thankless. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if it's one of those, if you're one of those people where you need accolades or you need people like you need like a pep squad and all that kind of stuff, like this probably is not going to work for you. Yeah. And I'd also say like, don't be concerned about what other people are doing. I know that, and that's just not in this industry. It's in whatever industry you want to be in. I think people compare themselves and where they are in their journey to what other people are doing. And I think that you do yourself a disservice by doing that. And everyone has their own path. And it's not just something cliche. Like everybody has their own journey and their own story. And yours is going to be different and it's going to be unique and it's going to be dope, but it's not going to be like anyone else's. And that's how it's supposed to be. So I would just say those kind of things, or just to keep that in mind if you want to do what we do or if you want to do something else.
It's funny you say that, just about consistency and the longevity, because it's like, even for me with the Jasmine Brand, like I hear you talking, like I hear you say it's been like nearly almost 10 years. Yeah. For me, though, I feel like it came out of nowhere. Like one day, it was just literally in my feed. It was in my email or, you know, on my Facebook page. Like it was just there. Yeah. And just to hear you talk about the years of everything that you've done and all you put into it, you know, it just shows how hard work will get you there. Because for me, it's like, oh, you know, it just literally appeared like overnight.
Yeah. And Mahir and I talked about it. He kind of felt like the beginning was really, I propelled really fast. Mm-hmm. And he said before, like, I feel like the site went big really fast. Yeah. And I don't know if that's the case, but I do know that people have said they felt like one day it was just there. It was just there. But I will say, I feel like the same thing with artists. Mm-hmm. Like you'll see an artist, she'd be like, where'd he come from? Yeah. Or where'd she come from? And then quietly on the low, she's been writing or
in the work,
doing YouTube videos forever. But you know, at the same time, there are people that are successful overnight. There are people that only did something for 6 months and they became this huge fashion person, or you know, they've been able to succeed like that. But that's usually like an anomaly. Like that usually doesn't happen. Right. But yeah, I was in the cut and that's kind of what kind of encouraged me and motivated me when I started. Like I would just be in the cut in my own world, just sacrificing, because I had no social life, just sacrificing my time and just putting in work because I just kind of wanted to prove
you could do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't overnight, girl. I wish it was.
No, but it felt like it. I was like,
not to me. They're very long.
And I know we talked a little bit about you getting evicted, but what would you consider like your rock bottom moment through this entire process?
My rock bottom moment. Mm-hmm.
And how did you overcome it?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of rock bottom. I think is probably getting evicted.
Okay.
That might be people's rock bottom. Yeah, rock bottom. Yeah, I guess that's something I really need to think about because it all was hard.
Yeah.
More of it was more taxing on me. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like I just working so long just I really felt like I lost sense of time. Like I have a hard time gauging time now.
Okay.
But my rock bottom probably getting evicted.
Was there ever a moment where you were like, okay, I took on too much. Like I don't know if I can do this. Like maybe I should just put it on pause.
I never really thought I should put it on pause. It was just an ongoing battle.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when it's ongoing, you have this feeling or this struggle. It wasn't like one moment, but it was never like okay, I'm going to quit this. It was just like, oh, like, damn, I got to figure this out. Like quitting was just never really an option. You know what I mean? And it's not like I had this grand time, but I also kind of always felt like I was going to prove people wrong, and that kind of motivated me too. So it's just more so that it wasn't just like all good.
Yeah.
It was just like it was just going. I was just and my dad, I was in it. My dad used to just tell me like half the battle is just staying in it. That's like he was just like there'll be people that will start with you who could really outbeat you, but they're not going to last. So like half the battle is just getting up every day and working,
doing it.
Yeah, but I think it wasn't all good. It was just something I just was kind of like obsessed with it. You know what I mean? Like it growing.
It's your baby.
Yeah. I was just kind of obsessed with kind of seeing how it would turn out. So I kind of never really thought about quitting. Because I was like, what am I going to do then?
Because then what? Right. No. So what is next for you? Not the Jasmine Brand, but for
me
Jasmine,
personally?
Yes.
I'm working on a few things. Like I'm working on a book right now. We have some TV stuff that we're working on, some digital stuff in terms of me that we're working on. And I want to do some kind of cosmetic things too. So I'm not a real big announcement girl.
Okay.
It's not like I have secrets. I'd rather just
let it come out and talk for itself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, I have a few things personally that I'm cooking.
So I have to ask you if you consider yourself dope and why.
I don't want to be like negative, but I don't really know if I can. I don't know.
What's your definition of dope? First of all, let's start there.
Dope, I feel like is like the very top. Like there ain't much left for me to do in this joint. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
That's what I think of as dope. And so maybe that's why I would say like I don't feel like I'm whack. I mean, I don't feel like I'm this bum bitch. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like I feel like I was trying to go the whole time without cursing.
That's okay. This is
one. No, it's one. I only did one. It's fine. I'm okay with one. But so yeah, I don't know. I mean,
listen, I'm going to tell you that let me tell you why I think you're dope. Because you're literally, for me, not blogs, but, people who put out content the way that you do. You have literally, because I've been a news person my entire life, you've literally changed the way people consume their news, right? So with that being said, that is dope. Like you you told me about how, your job was like, listen, it's either or, and you bet on yourself, and then you just decided this is what I'm going to do. That is beyond dope, because that's a scary feeling. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if I could do that. If I could just be it's like, because I enjoy my paycheck. Do you know what I'm saying?
You should keep getting your paycheck, but you'd be fine.
But do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that is literally the definition of dope.
So I have done some dope things.
There you go.
And so, but I feel like I haven't scratched the surface.
Okay.
So I don't know if that answered.
Well, it's
what was the question?
Do you consider yourself dope?
I feel like I've done some dope things.
There you go.
I feel like we've done some dope things, and I feel like we just getting started.
And you're still becoming dope.
Yep.
Work
in progress.
I put the on it because I think you guys are dope.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Jasmine, for coming and talking to us today.
Thanks for having me.
Becoming dope. Thank you, Mahir, for coming.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Becoming Dope. As always, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or on our website, becomingdopepodcast.com.